Hello everyone. Thank you for joining me for part 2 here of kind of what the last few months have been like. And um, for the part 1 video, I talked about a lot of the physical stuff that I've been going through and exactly kind of what was happening. And um, so now I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into some of the emotional and spiritual things that I've been dealing with through this. Um, and you know, I I um, I really enjoy making my videos. I think they're I know they're helpful for me, and I think they are helpful for other people. And it is hard to put yourself out there and speak your truth, but this is absolutely mine, and this is my experience. Um, and so at the end of the last video, I started talking about how some of the physical sides of alpha-gal syndrome, which is what I was diagnosed with, um, how hard it can be emotionally because I can't, hug and kiss my kids. If my son was eating a salami sandwich today, and I have to make sure his hands get washed before we snuggle together or anything like that, just in case, because I'm really trying to avoid using an EpiPen right now while I'm pregnant. Um, I feel like my daughter that I'm pregnant with has been subjected to a lot of things that I did not do or intend. Um, and I just don't want any more if I can help it. So, um, you know, if you think about how often you kiss or hug your kids, and if you're not an emotional person and you're not a touchy person, then it may be harder for you to grasp. But um, being someone that is those things, this beautiful butterfly keeps flying around. um, it's really hard. And I I hate it at times. Um, I went shopping with my husband yesterday, and my son had been eating a sandwich, and he just wanted to come up and give me a hug, but he wasn't done with his sandwich, and I need to go. And like, I can't do it. And that's very hard. Um, and there'd be ways that I could, prevent that if I turn my whole house into an AGS household and we all go vegan or whatever. And um, but I'm not willing to ask them all to do that at this point. Um, and I don't feel like that's necessary right now. Um, I think we're already dye free, and that's a hard thing for kids to understand, let alone adding another complicated layer to it. And I also think, to a certain degree, you know, kids should have that variety of things in their lives. And if they choose as an adult to not eat whatever, then that's on them. They can choose to do whatever. But I don't want to make that choice for them somehow because I'm choosing that lifestyle for them. That's my own personal thing. If you think differently, it's okay. Um, the biggest thing emotionally over the last few months has been the isolation. And there are probably people in my life that would say that I have secluded myself and those sorts of things. I don't know, when you're feeling like complete garbage, if that can really be the case. I think you push and do as much as you can, and then you get to a point where you just can't do anymore, and you just have to go within, and you have to be in your home or whatever. And the ironic thing is, that doesn't mean people can't check in on you or visit you, but then that requires them to make a choice too, how involved or not they're going to be in your life when you can't be physically present to do things. And this has been a huge thing, is, when I think back at the beginning of this pregnancy, and I think about the people, I was not, barely late with my, hold on, there's a car coming. When I'm barely late with a pregnancy test, and I'm so excited because I'm finally pregnant. I know I'm not going to miscarry. I just know I'm not this time. And that circle of people that I was excited to tell, and who is involved or not in my life now, is amazing and transformative. I think that's why I'm seeing the butterfly. This illness and period has really been like being a caterpillar and turning into a butterfly, and you have to kind of go within and turn to sludge and goo, and it's lonely and isolating. And in a world full of technology, sending a text or a message or making a phone call doesn't take that much time. And if you're the person that's ill, it can literally be the difference between another mundane day and just, oh my God, someone cares about me, someone's missing me, someone's thinking of me. And it's really interesting because, there's different ways to present that too. And sometimes it was implied that, I'm not trying or doing hard enough either. And really nobody gets to make that call but me, at all. There's people that I have stood by through their own personal tragedies and difficulties, and these people weren't able to show up for me at all. There are things that they have going on, whether minor or not, they just couldn't do it. And I didn't have it in me to check and be the bubbly friend that I've always been. And that's been a really hard lesson, is having those boundaries with people and with yourself. And just saying, really, is there no reason that in a month and a half you can't just say, hey, I'm thinking of you? And then I have, like, literally somebody that I had met in May physically for the first time, but had talked to a few other times, and they're literally checking on me every day. And part of it is probably my own expectations, and I 100% realize that's in play there. But this is also someone, and there are other people who haven't. And everybody has their own shit show. But when you're in a deep shit show, you hope people show up. And it is disappointing when they don't. And I think that's given me a bigger and deeper understanding of friendship and what I expect or don't expect in people. And it also helped me to kind of recategorize people in my brain, because I feel like I really try hard to show up and help people. And I know as I'm getting better and when I'm better, because that day is going to come, that I'm going to be around somebody else who's struggling with something, whether it's divorce, relationship issues, a sick kid, their own health, whatever. And I'm going to know the amazing difference of what people who show up for you feels like and what people who don't show up for you feel like. And if that's the harder, deeper lesson in all this, then yes, it's worth it, because it makes me a more compassionate human being. It's a hard lesson to deal with, though, too. And it's one that's affected my kids as well. It's been really hard because one kid was missed, but not all of them. And I fully acknowledge that my youngest he's a bundle of fun, and it's hard, and that's made it where going to things would then logically be hard or harder. And just not something that I can't do that when I'm already feeling not so hot. And what I'm finding so far with AGS is that I'm still having good and bad days. And I'm really trying hard to rework my stamina, but it's just depleted into nothingness. And A+, hurrah, if somebody else can go through this and not completely lose their stamina and be pregnant and have 4 kids that you're taking care of and all that stuff. Amazing and awesome. That's not me, and I'm okay with knowing that and being that. And over the last few months, I've asked myself several times, because I really feel like illness is a time for growth and deeper understanding. You're being asked to stop and slow down. And, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? But at the same time, I wasn't able to meditate. If I tried to meditate, I'd fall asleep. And I'm just like, what am I not getting? And I knew part of it was just getting to the diagnosis, which I think why, if you saw my first video, like, I just needed that peace. And then I knew things would start to fall into place. And I'm really grateful because people with AGS sometimes wait years for a diagnosis. They go through anaphylaxis multiple times, and I'm grateful I haven't had that. I got really diagnosed pretty quickly, all things considered. And as I've been healing the last few weeks and changing those foods and things like that, really trying to rebuild my stamina. Even something simple as grocery shopping is exhausting, and it can exhaust me for days. I walked to my garden one day, felt really good, and I haven't been able to get back to doing that. It made me so tired for days afterwards. I have to balance. I want to be functional as a mom and to homeschool and things like that with literally being able to walk across the road, 100 feet down the hill to pick tomatoes and then make it back up the hill across the road to the house. The other day I had to walk to just the chicken coop, and literally for hours afterwards. And there's times to push, and that day water was tipped over and my 9-year-old couldn't figure out how to fix it, and she's upset and I'm upset, but I'm like, I just have to do this. Over the last week or so, really feeling pushed more to get back to doing videos. It's hard because I can't obviously physically go out and take care of the animals, and so I'm not prioritizing having time to make videos. Today I was coming out to light the grill. I don't want to cook inside, it's too hot. So my little carnivores are all eating something on the grill tonight. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I know this is a component, and I'm also sad because I was told that my videos were me basically having a bitch fest and complaining. And I think hearing something like that when you're vulnerable and already having a hard time makes it easier to let go of. And it's hard to get back into something like this where you're being so vulnerable. When somebody's giving you feedback like that. Lovingly, of course. I really look at all of this as this was written into my life plan. I think things are very lessons aren't circular, they're a spiral. And I think I've talked about that before. And we learn one lesson, and then we come down and we go a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. And we're still circling, but we're spiraling down. And I thought I had done a lot of personal work on boundaries and friendship and just all that. And then this was bringing in a new and complicated layer to what that means. And it's been hard. I'm a very talkative, energetic person, and I like being around people. And I know that about myself. I really love people, and I love talking and being with people. And so this isolation, whether somebody wants to think it's self-imposed or whether it's physical necessity or whatever, it needed to happen to get to that level of deeper understanding. And I am grateful for that. I can remember saying, I'm ready for the next, step, and, I can do this and bring it on. And I'm here, and I'm still thriving. And I think it's a lesson in, even if you're getting the crap punched out of you and you're like, life is hitting you hard, and then people that you're thinking you can count on hit you harder, what your human soul and endurance can do and handle. And I think about where I was before COVID, spiritual-wise, and where I was before this started. And there's lots of growth there. And then I think about the growth that I've come to just since February, and I'm like, oh my God, that's serious. And sometimes during these moments, you can look for the lesson and the bigger understanding, or you cannot. You can look at the way the world looks and handles things and go, oh, it's to be expected. Nothing good ever happens. But, like there's 1,000 perspectives and ways to look at this. And I don't think that doesn't mean you can't it's okay to be human and to fall into the humanness of something like this. This has been hard, and I wouldn't wish this on anybody. And there's part of me that goes, thank God it was this though, and not congestive heart failure or something like that, because then my journey would be over. And I would have assumed that I had written that into my story, and that my kids, for whatever reason, needed to go through that, and that was part of the plan. And I would have found some peace and solace in that. But thankfully, that doesn't seem like the case. It seems like this is going to be something hard. You're going to go through it. There's some hope of ways to heal and deal with and do. And all of your training and spiritual practice up to this point has led to this moment. And it's really interesting because I haven't pulled oracle cards or done anything like that. Like I said, when trying to meditate, I would fall asleep. And that makes me intuitively feel like I just needed to, like, time needed to lapse and we needed to get to the answers and things like that. And so today I finally felt I wanted to prepare for this video and making these videos. And so I journaled a bit. I haven't done that either. My last entry was right before my infusion in May. And I was still struggling with lots of these things, with the friendships and things like that. And, you know, kind of wondering what to do. And so I was able to do that today, and then I pulled my cards. And it's interesting, there's a, you know, I guess common cards I kind of pick up more frequently or whatever, and it's not that I don't shuffle the deck. I shuffle the deck similarly all the time. But this time I pulled a lot of cards I don't normally pull. And I was really able to get to and interpret what I needed to hear to kind of finish being ready for these videos and putting myself out there again. This is a little bit longer than I intended, but I don't want to separate it into another video. Part of this, there's been an acute financial cost to us. My husband had to miss work with the ER trips and things like that. There is no working overtime when your wife is feeling like garbage and can't get up. And then once we found out what this was, and having to change my diet even more strictly, has really put my home birth for this baby on the line. It truly feels like drowning, and I know it's hard because I know everybody's drowning right now. It's a really hard time economically right now for most families, and our family is no exception. We have that you know, there's things on our homestead that need to get done, and my husband has struggled to do by himself, and occasionally he's gotten help, but there's been other projects for other people to do, and that's been hard. There's been a lot of hard. So I've had to grapple with and mentally get my head around giving birth at a hospital again. And I know a lot of people probably won't get that because it's quote unquote safer in a hospital and all that stuff. But I really like being at home and having my babies at home. I like my other kids around me. I like the movement and the freeness of being in my space. And so I literally wasn't sure what else to do, because what do you do? I'm not going to suddenly go out and make $3,500 very quickly when I can barely get around my house and stuff, and we're just struggling to pay our regular bills and the new bills that have come with this. And so I woke up one morning and I literally had a bing, and so I have done a GoFundMe, and that was a new level of vulnerability and putting myself out there, because I'm literally asking for help from strangers or just people I know online or my friends and family that I know in real life. And not all of those people like home birth or see why it's so special or important. And now part of me feels like being at home is the safest place for me with AGS, because it just takes one wrong person touching something and then touching me or whatever that could cause an issue. And who wants to have possible anaphylaxis or other issues while they're in labor? Not anybody. Ironically, my home birth midwife is vegan. So, interesting choice pick, right? But asking for help is hard, and we're taught not to ask for help. And so that was really hard to do and put out there. And I'm very grateful. I had 3 people donate pretty quickly, and honestly, they are absolute strangers to me other than discussions and interactions online, and yet they know me here to say, here's $30 and I hope you get it. And then somebody donated $100, and I've literally cried after each and every donation, because I know what $30 would mean to me to donate to somebody. I know things being tight and still sacrificing to help somebody. And I know that can be hard to do, to make that choice. But I'm so grateful. And now I'm kind of stalled. And so I do surrender to not knowing how it's going to end up. Maybe it's just a lesson in humbling yourself for help, and I still have to go to the hospital. And maybe it's a bigger lesson and reward that putting yourself out there gets the help that you need. And obviously I'm kind of secretly hoping for one way. I hold that intention. But I'm also willing to let the universe do its magic. And, if I'm unable to afford to do this home birth, then I know the donations that I've received, I'm going to hire my doula for a longer period of time. So I feel like I have somebody with me who can protect me other than my husband, because my husband will need to go home to our kids at some point. So it's another level of vulnerability. I feel like this whole experience over the last few months since February has been newer and deeper understanding of so many components of my life. And yet in the same breath, I've seen my humanness and my vulnerability and the need to feel all of my emotions and to ultimately surrender. You can hold intentions, but you can't hold them too tight. So, if anyone wants to donate, I have linked it several times, and I will link it again in this video. And we'll see what the universe does or doesn't do, and it will be okay. So I'm sorry this one was so long. It's probably going to take years to upload. I wish I could just do live, but getting to 50 viewers to go live is next on the list. So I hope everyone's well. If you had been following me and watching and you thought I dropped off the face of the earth or whatever, I've tried to do posts and stuff, even on YouTube. I am doing mostly daily updates on Facebook and Twitter, at Katie Wojo on Facebook and PureSmith2 on Twitter. And I'm excited to be jumping back into this, so I'm sorry these were longer. I probably should have put it into 3 separate videos, but it is what it is. So anyway, I look forward to seeing you all next time, and now you're up to date. Love y'all.